In 2019, Microsoft has reduced the work week from 5 days to 4 days in the office in Japan. They have said that this has corresponded to a 40% increase in worker productivity. Basically, what they did is close the office every Friday in August, and then they said that the labor productivity has increased by 39.9% compared to the August of the previous year. But do you see the problem here? I take it that yes, if you're listening to this podcast. They have compared a month in 1 year to a month in the previous year. So this is not a legitimate experiment. You cannot say that there is causality in this. You cannot say that you know for sure that the decrease of 1 day has led to a 40% boost in productivity. It could possibly lead to it, but it's possible there were other things that were led to it. Maybe there were a new feature to release in the August of next year, and developers needed to work much harder. Maybe there was something special in Japan. Maybe in 2019 it was known as the year of working harder. And it will not correspond to any other year or any other nation. Also, the experiment was just in Japan. So even if there is causality, the causality could be only in Japan. Also, do we know that we had the same employees in 2019 versus 2018? Maybe there were different composition of the employee types. To perform a well experiment, basically an A/B test, you needed to have two groups. One is the control group and another is the treatment group. You would then split them into two, take one group, give them a day off, take the other two, and of course this should not be like different teams who work on different features. It should be randomly selected, and then you could infer causality from one experiment, from one group to the other. Also, we could check whether in other offices where we did not remove one day over week, whether they also had a performance boost. Because if they also had a performance boost, then this means there are other causes for this performance boost. These are called the confounders, and we are mitigating the confounders in an experiment by taking and randomly splitting the group into two groups, the control and the treatment, and only then we can deduce about causality in experiment. Making an experiment does not mean we remove intuition from the process. The intuition comes into place in the ideation process, which means that anyone can come up with the idea, be it a developer, a product manager, an executive, anyone. So the intuition comes in this place, but in technology specifically where we can do experiment and A/B testing, we should be using this experiment methodology in order to check whether there is causality in between the feature change and the result. It's going to also be very beneficial to keep a record and the history of experiments a company does, because this means that when you want to run a new A/B test, you could refer to history and tell by it what is the expected effect, the effect that you expect to have in between the control and the treatment group. Also, if you are not able to run an A/B test, then you could look at history and see what you expect to be the difference. In an A/B test, which is a type of a scientific experiment, we answer the question, Which experience is better for the user? Is it A or B? Or for the company, for that sake? And we measure the same common metric that the company measures, only we separate and split them to the different groups that we have in the experiment. So this was a brief overview to A/B testing, to the check of whether removing 1 day of work is increasing probability, whether we can deduce causality out of it or not.